doing well today. Today I have some Orville Redenbacher popcorn. Good old Orville Redenbacher. Wow, that's a mouthful. Orville Redenbacher. Say that faster than 50 times. I got some licorice, all sorts, some of my favorites. The Orville Redenbacher is a sweet and salty kind. Got some water. So, I recently did a video called Fireside Chat. And if you remember, in that video, I introduced you to my dog Marcy. Now, I've showed pictures of Marcy before. Still pictures, but I don't think I showed any video before, so that's the first time I actually had a video of Marcy, my dog, on there. Now, that video was made, I guess, a little bit more than 3 weeks ago. About a week after that video, this one night, I'd taken Marcy for a walk, and I noticed that when we got back, she had what I thought was snot kind of wrapped around her face, and you know, dogs get snot and they shake and it kind of wraps around, and I had some on the sleeve of my coat and some on the leash. I thought, oh, that's kind of gross. And I said to Linda, I think, you know, Marcy might have a cold. She said, I was thinking the same thing, because she had some snot on her bed, and I'd noticed that too, some dried snot. And Linda's two little grandkids have been coming over, and they were already coughing and hacking. Now, I'm not sure if humans can pass colds along to dogs. I don't know what the deal is, but we thought maybe that was the case, was that Marcy got a cold. So that was on a Thursday night. So Friday, which was Groundhog Day, beautiful sunny day. Cold, I mean, it's early February, it's cold, but sunny and beautiful. I took Marcy for her first walk of the day. She gets walked twice. First thing after breakfast, and then right after dinner at nighttime. And she looks forward to her walks. And we have different walks we do. Our morning one usually consists of going up to, there's a local school, a middle school that has a big, beautiful school ground. It's quite big, you know. I'm sure it's at least 5 acres, if not a bit more. It's got a wooded area just at one end. And it's the one place where one of the few places I can let Marcy off the leash for a short amount of time. Maybe 10 minutes tops. Basically, from the time it takes me to walk from one end of the school ground to the other. So we walk up there, it's just a whole block and a half. Get to the school, I let her off the leash, starts running, takes off. It's the same ritual every day, you know. Sometimes there's a neighborhood dog that she barks at through the fence and that kind of thing. I noticed she wasn't running quite as fast as usual. She's 11 years old, but for 11 she still runs like a cheetah, you know, it's amazing. So, we're walking along, we get to the wooded area, and she's kind of avoiding me, it's kind of weird. Now, I'm always concerned she might roll in something, because a lot of times Marcy will find something to roll in, some dead carcass or something that just reeks. If you're a dog owner, you probably know what I'm talking about. And, you know, a lot of times we'll, if the weather's warmer, we'll take her by the hot tub, wash her off the warm water, and just get that smell off her and whatever. But because it's so cold when that happens, but when Marcy rolls in some dead animal, we have to wash her off. So, a lot of times, if we don't wash her off by the hot tub, we'll wash her off in the bathtub. She just gets in the tub, doesn't seem to mind. But we dry her off real good, because we don't want to go outside and get pneumonia or something. So I remember the last time she had rolled something, we had to give her a bath. And we dried her off real good. She was in the house for maybe an hour, then we let her outside real quick to do her business. She came back in. And now this is about a week before what I'm back to my story. I'm walking through this wooded area. I'm just getting there. Marcy's kind of avoiding me. And at one point, I just keep walking because I know she'll catch up. And I hear it sounds like this groaning or mooing of a cow or something. I thought it was a neighborhood dog or something, because there's lots of dogs in the house in that area. And all of a sudden, I didn't think nothing of it. Marcy comes running up. When we get to the end of the wooded area, I have to put the leash back on, because now we're going on to the other street. And usually we'll start our little journey back home, or continue on, whichever, you know. I love licorice. So anyway, we start walking. We get maybe half a block. I know she's kind of coughing, and you know, I thought it was kind of weird, just this coughing thing. I never heard her do before. And she's walking real slow, and all of a sudden she stops and she makes this groaning sound, like I said, like what I'd heard earlier, like a cow or something. Just this, and she just throws up, just really throws up. It's like, holy cow. And that was very alarming. I've seen Marcy throw up before if she, you know, throws up her kibble or something. It's kind of dry, kind of comes out in a lump, but this was like all this. I don't want to get too descriptive because it'll gross you out, but it was just really gross, right? You know. And then she did it again a second time, and both times she made this groaning, heaving sound. So I thought, wow. I know she was walking slow, so now I didn't have my cell phone. If I had my cell phone, I would have phoned Linda and said, come and pick us up. But we walked home very slowly, and she was able to walk home, but she didn't stop and sniff for pee or nothing. She just kept walking. We got home, and I told Linda about this. And I noticed, oh, by the way, I also noticed right after she threw up that she had drool hanging down both her sides of her mouth, like this thick, mucusy slobber, like drool, just thick, like icicles on both sides of her mouth, just hanging there. Pretty weird. I've never seen that before in Marcy. So I realized right then what Linda and I thought was snot was not. It was drool, you know, and that was kind of alarming because when an animal drools like that, a lot of times you know they may have ingested something. Now, I thought whatever happened, it couldn't have been just within the last few minutes, because we'd seen this. What we thought was snot was actually slop. We saw that like you know, at least 24 hours earlier. I didn't really think that much of it. So anyways, we get home, I tell Linda about this. We keep an eye on her. She becomes kind of lethargic, goes and lies on her bed. Gets something, eats once in a while, but she's still got this drooling, just, oh my gosh, I've never seen nothing like it. She's just lying on her bed looking at me with this drool coming down. So we thought, well, we gotta take this dog to the vet. And then we thought, well, we'll take a wait and see approach to kind of see how things go. Because, you know, sometimes you can run off the vet and you find out it's nothing, you know, and 24 hours later they're fine. Now, to my knowledge, Marcy, I've known Marcy for 10 years. She's 11 years old, but Linda had her for a year before Linda and I hooked up. And in the 10 years I've known Marcy, she's been sick twice. Both times, she curled up like a donut on her bed, laid there for 24 hours, and she was fine. So, we thought we'll take a wait and see approach. So that night after dinner, I took her for an evening walk. And this walk is, it's a few blocks. So we start walking, we get about halfway. I'm thinking, great, she hasn't thrown up yet. I don't seem to think that. She just starts heaving the exact same thing that she did that morning. Threw up twice, both times she groaned, you know, and heaved. So I thought, oh, brother. But she managed to walk home. She was walking okay, you know, just kind of jittery. So Linda and I thought, well, maybe she has pneumonia. from giving her that bath a week earlier. But like I said, we're always very careful not to let her outside until she's really dried off. So we thought, well, we'll keep an eye on her. And if she's not better by tomorrow, we're taking her to the vet. So Saturday morning, we get up. We both take her for a walk to this other area. It's there's a pipeline that feeds one of the sawmills, and there's a nice trail you can walk down there, and that's another place we let Marcy off. Now, before Christmas, somebody was putting pork chops and meat out on top of the pipeline, which is, several feet off the ground, maybe 4 feet off the ground, but, a big dog can just reach up there. Now, some people speculated that they were, someone was trying to poison animals, like poison dogs or whatever. I'm not sure what the reason was, but meat's very expensive. Why anybody would take good pork chops and just lay them out on top of a pipeline? Like, I can't see the reason for that. We have a few websites dedicated to the area of town we live in, and there's a lot of speculation. So at one point, a news crew from Victoria came out and did a story on it. Now, at that point, you think, if somebody was doing something with no ill intent, they would have just come forward and say, oh boy, that was me. I was just doing that because I wanted to feed the squirrels or feed the birds or whatever. Now, I don't know why you'd feed the meat, but it made no sense to me, and I still can't figure that out. No one ever came forward. So, but then it's stopped after that. So I'm not sure what the deal was. But we always really kept a close eye on Marcy after that. Didn't let her run ahead too far. I'm always very careful. I remember a couple of years ago, on one of her walks in the summer, she'd always walk by this one place. She'd go rooting in there. I thought she was going to look like sniffing around. And she'd always come up with a chicken bone. Somebody discarded a bunch of chicken bones from, I think it was like a Popeyes or a KFC or something, to throw them off the side of the road. So I'd rid them out of her mouth. So of course dogs would be dogs, right? So anyways, we take her down that pipeline on the Saturday morning, the day after we noticed she was really sick. And we get the first trestle, which is a few hundred feet. We turn around, come back, and she can barely walk. She keeps sitting down. Her hindquarters are very weak. And she's just very lethargic. We get her home. And she's still doing the drooling thing, just drooling. Keep wiping her mouth and just hanging there, thick gobs. I mean, it's not just saliva, it's like thick, clear mucus, but really thick, translucent almost. So we thought, man, we gotta take her to the doctor. So there's several clinics in the town I live in. There's one that's very, very good. It's very close by, but they're not open until Monday. So we thought, well, we'll try and wait for Monday, see how she is. So never bothered taking her for a walk Saturday night. We go to bed. Linda gets up at about 3:30 in the morning, goes to check on her. Marcy looks terrible. She's just got this drooling, and they're very lethargic and just looking really sad. And Linda, starts getting a bit teary-eyed and says, we gotta do something. We're taking her to the vet. There's no doubt about it. We're gonna quit screwing around. So there's one vet that's open 24/7. It's an emergency type vet. They never close their doors. They're always open. So we load her in the car. By the time we get there, it's about a half-hour drive. We get there. We take her in. And, she's quite lively and, kind of, very curious and kind of running around. I mean, she doesn't look sick. I remember Linda joked, it's kind of like taking your car to the mechanic. You take the car to the mechanic and suddenly it's running great, And she kept saying, I wish Marcy would act more sicker, but anyway, she seemed fine. And it's a triage, and they take the most serious cases first. So they came out, took Marcy's vitals, and then said, well, just hang on, we'll be with her in a while. time we take her out for a walk. It's early in the morning, still dark, but it's actually quite warm out. She's walking fine, you know. Still drooling though, just slobbering like crazy. So we noticed a couple of people came in after us, and they got to see the doctor first. So we thought, well, obviously Marcy's not that serious if they're taking other dogs and cats before her. So finally the doctor has a look at her, takes her back to the examiner. Then he calls us into this room. Calls us into this room and says, you know what? She's got something wrong with her esophagus. I'm thinking she may have an abscess, or she may have swallowed a chicken bone or a fish bone, but something's not quite right. And she won't let me look down her throat, so I'm going to have to, with your permission, I'd like to sedate her and have a closer look. So, okay. So, it was going to be a while, so we went home. And he said he'd phone us when she was ready. So we get home, we're home for a while having lunch, and he phones. And he's had a look at her x-ray. She has an enlarged esophagus. Somehow it became enlarged. And we thought, well, what would cause that? I mean, like so suddenly, is it like Marcy is like a lot of dogs, she loves her walks. She just gets going like this and she tugs on her leash and you're like, oh, hang on, you know, like pulling on her leash. And she says, no, that's got nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. He says she probably ate something or swallowed something that may have caused some inflammation or ruptured something. But when we come in, he'll talk to us more. So we go in there and we talk to him. Again, and he says that Marcy has what he calls, or what is called, mega esophagus, where the esophagus becomes very enlarged. There's no cure for it, and that we'd have to get used to feeding her in an upright position. Now, just for your own curiosity, if you want to Google Bailey chair for dogs, a Bailey chair is like a little high chair the dog sits upright in. It's very interesting. I'd never heard of such a thing. So a Bailey chair for dogs. And I never knew these things existed. So we said, well, megaesophagus, what causes megaesophagus? He said, well, there's one thing that's called myasthenia gravis, which is, it's not always found in animals, but it's found mostly in people, in humans. And it's like a neurological thing where the muscles don't receive the proper signals from the brain. So we thought, well, that's weird. And he said, so it's going to be, it's very serious. Both things are very serious, and that's why she's lethargic and losing, you know, the sensation in her back, in her rear end. And he said, you probably notice her voice is changing. And that was true, her voice had changed. She had this kind of small dog bark, you know, like a couple days earlier. Then this daughter came over and thought there was another dog in the backyard because the bark was so different. And we noticed that about Marcy was her bark. It got, the way we describe it, it got smaller. You know, it sounded more like a small dog. So anyway, I have another licorice here. These are my favorite. So we started reading up on myasthenia gravis and megaesophagus. He sends us home with a bunch of medication, mostly to coat her stomach, because she's probably having like her throat's probably been like from all the vomiting. And he said, by the way, it's not vomiting, it's regurgitation. And I didn't know there's a difference, but regurgitation is when it goes down your esophagus but doesn't make it to your stomach. You just regurgitate. Coming from your stomach, that's actually vomiting. He says, no, she's regurgitating, not vomiting. Okay, didn't know that. So we go home, we're heartbroken. So now we start researching. We're gonna have to make a Bailey chair for her where she can sit up. We'll have to make a Bailey chair where she can sit up and eat properly. Because what happens is the gravity has to take the food down to the stomach. Because the throat, if it's enlarged, isn't working properly. It's not working to force the food down. Almost like a reticulation or like a, it has to work to force the food down, like a muscle type spasm type thing, right? And it wasn't working. It was too big. And it was getting stuck in her esophagus. So that's why she was coughing and regurgitating and salivating so much. And we kept saying, well, how does this come on so quick? This makes sense. It made no sense to me at all. It wasn't a gradual thing. I mean, one day she's running across the school grounds like a cheetah. The next day, she literally cannot barely walk. It made no sense at all. So, he basically says, well, he doesn't know the cause of that, why that happened, but we're gonna have to work with her. So first thing we do is we get home, we get some soft food, we take her kibble and warm her up with hot water. We start reading like crazy, learning about myasthenia gravis and megaesophagus and Bailey chairs. So we start feeding her. Linda would feed her, and I would hold her in an upright position where she's, dogs kind of sit like this, like a prairie dog or something, or a gopher or something, sitting on her haunches, and I would just hold her like that. Linda would feed her, and she was eating canned dog food, which she's never ate before, and she was doing quite good. And I would just hold her there in that position for several minutes to make sure it worked its way down to her stomach. We learned to there'd be the odd coughing thing where she would be hacking and coughing, but we learned to give her small amounts slowly and just hold her in an upright position. And plus we had to give her medication 3 times a day, and she couldn't have food for 2 hours before, 2 hours after, and it was just, oh wow. And she was extremely lethargic. She never got off her bed. She would just, dogs lie around as it is. Marcy's no exception. She always like to lie around, but when it's time to do something, bang, she's just, she's up and ready to go. She would just lie there, drooling and everything else. So the vet figured she got into something. Maybe she was poisoned, maybe threw something over the fence, or she just ate something while we weren't looking one day. Be easy enough to do, But she got into something. Who knows? So that was on the weekend, and that was the Sunday. That was the 4th, February the 4th. So we made an appointment right away with the local vet at our clinic close by. They couldn't see us till a week from Tuesday. So we thought, wow. So we just kept up our routine, just feeding her small amounts, holding it in upright position, learning as much as we can, being as patient as we could. She was starting to have diarrhea and stuff like that, which Marcy never has, so we were going outside. She was getting me out of bed at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. It got to the point where I was just sleeping on the couch, and I'd get up every hour, let her outside, go out there with a flashlight, But when your dog is sick, you do what you can, and I love that dog. I'm going to be very honest and open here. One night, we tried taking her for a walk, and she just kept sitting down. She'd walk 10 feet and sit down, just look at us. And we brought her back to the house, and Linda and we just broke down, started crying. You know, I hadn't cried in years. I mean, I'm 66 years old. I hadn't cried. I mean, you're never told to cry, but I just fell apart. Because, you know, Marcy's been my walking buddy. You know, she's been Linda's rock, you know, and I love that little dog so much. And I just didn't know what was going to happen. So Friday comes along, we take her for a walk. And she's actually doing much better. She walks all the way up to the mailbox, which is at the end of the street, so she walks a full city block. And we started bringing a baby stroller with us. In case she can't walk all the way back or all the way, we'll put in the baby stroller and just wheel her back. So we started doing that. So we're just about to finish our walk and the phone rings and the vet says we have an opening today. You can come in. So we thought, that's great, we'll take it. We go in. They weigh her. She's only lost half a pound, which isn't too bad. The vet sees her. She has a whole different take. She says she has an esophagus issue, but it's not megaesophagus, because megaesophagus does not come on that quickly. It's more of a gradual thing. It's usually a congenital thing, where you're born with it, or it's an acquired thing, which comes on slowly. And it doesn't just happen overnight like it did with Marcy. And myasthenia gravis, she's never heard of that in dogs, and she's been a vet for, 12 years. And she said she'd never seen one case of that. So, two different diagnoses from two different vets. So, she tried to get Marcy to eat, but Marcy wouldn't eat. She made her some little meatballs. I mean, we got some blue buffalo and some hams and stuff like that. She was eating it for a while, but she didn't like it. She didn't like the stuff the vet gave her, whatever that was. But so the vet said she wanted to do some blood work. So she did some blood work. And bear in mind, if you're taking your dog to the vet, it's not cheap. It can drain your funds pretty quick. So we take Marcy. We take her home. The vet says, let's give her some more medication. The same stuff, but just a little bit more. It's like to coat her stomach, kind of like a, you see it on TV all the time, that pink stuff. I see it all the time, Pepto-Bismol or something like that. And so she gives her some of that, and we take her home. Oh, and she gave her some anti-nausea pills, and one pill to stimulate her appetite. So anyway, we're doing all this. We noticed that Marcy doesn't have to be fed in the upright position anymore. She's actually doing okay, eating normally. Now her bowls used to be on the floor, where she would bend down. We found a table about 2 feet high. Took my jigsaw, cut a couple holes 6 inches in, 2 holes 6 inches across. I got a couple of stainless steel bowls from the dollar store. Put those in. Looks really good. Lower the legs a little bit so it just comes in that way. She eats. She's still standing up in the upright position, but not having to lower her head right down to the floor. So that helps too. We're buying liver and chicken breast and frying that up, and she's eating that, being very picky about what she eats. So the vet does the blood work, says I'll phone you when you get home. Get home, a few hours later, phone rings. Blood work's clear, can't find anything. Test her for pancreatitis, cancer and different things. And kidneys are fine, liver's fine. Everything's good. It's just kind of weird, Now, she says when the medication's all finished, I'd like to see her for a follow-up. But if you have any concerns, bring her in. Don't hesitate. Well, Well, she's getting better. She's walking further. A few days ago, she walked all the way up to the school ground and trotted along, kind of trotted, which is kind of nice. Walked all the way through the school ground, through the woods, onto the next street, and never sat down until she was about 2/3 of the way through her walk. And then we just put her in the baby stroller and wheeled her back. Yesterday she completed her whole entire walk, but she had to sit down about a dozen times and rest a couple times. She has the will. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. She has the will to want to do it, but she just can't do it. She has to keep sitting down. But she has good days and bad days. I'm confident she'll get stronger. We keep feeding her. She still drinks. She still eats. Still barks when people come to the door. Still has that spirit. For a while, it was almost like she had given up. Had no spirit at all. But at least she's eating. That's one thing she's maintaining. She's still eating. She's become very picky. But she continues to get stronger. I hope she does. So that's where it stands today. We took her for a walk today, and she did about half her walk. She did a full city block before she sat down for the first time. Then she kept going and then just kind of ran out of steam. Then we wheeled her back a little ways. We took her out, let her walk the last block, and she seemed to be okay. But she's way better than she was when she first got sick. But a long ways from where she was originally. Like I said, this is a dog that could run like a cheetah, and then the next day couldn't walk hardly. Very bizarre. So Linda and I, it's a learning curve for us. We just keep learning about it, reading about it, trying to figure it out. But the one thing we maintained was when the time comes that Marcy no longer has quality of life, we will have to make a decision. I don't believe in keeping an animal alive for the benefit of the owner. Some people may do that, but when the animal loses its will to live and it no longer has quality of life, then it's time. And Linda and I have already made some decisions. We've talked about that. We're both on board the same thing. I mean, you have to ask yourself, are you prolonging life or prolonging death, And right now she has the will to live. She's getting better and stronger. But we'll see. The thing about an enlarged esophagus, which I think is starting to go back to normal, it can lead to pneumonia. Dogs with chronic megaesophagus have pneumonia a lot. And I could not be happy feeding a dog in a Bailey chair at least twice a day. dogs have to have smaller meals more frequently. Rather than sometimes some dogs just have one big meal and that's it. And what kind of life is that for a dog to sit in a baby chair? But I love Marcy so much. So does Linda. That's why we keep working with her. She's not getting up during the night anymore. For a while, like I said, she'd get me up starting around 1 in the morning. Every hour or so she'd want to go outside. One time she came back in, wanted to go out 15 minutes later. It was pouring rain, but what are you going to do, right? She has not once messed in the house, either way. Hasn't thrown up or pooped or nothing or peed or nothing. If she did, you just clean it up. It's not the end of the world, right? But she's never done that. But I think the esophagus will improve, get better. I just wish I knew exactly how all this occurred. You know, what did she eat? Some dogs, if you watch those veterinarian shows like Dr. Pole, some dogs swallow all kinds of stuff. Who knows, right? But I thought for sure she would have had a chicken bone or a fish bone or something stuck in her throat. Wasn't the case. But I mean, dogs eat anything. Maybe just after New Year's, I was taking Marcy for walks, and New Year's Day we noticed somebody throwing up on the street, and Marcy kept trying to eat it every time I walked by. Oh. So dogs will eat anything, you know. Licorice and popcorn. Weird combination. So hopefully Marcy's going to be okay. I wanted to share this with you in the event something similar happens to your dog, where you know of something that's already happened, you know, something you could share with me. Well, that's it, my friends. Allow me to recap. So thank you for listening. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all staying amazing out there in the land of awesome. So you keep those comments coming in, and those if you want to shout out, hit me up. So in the meantime, you look after yourselves. Thanks for watching. I love hearing from you. Drop me a line anytime you want, okay? So you take care, and we'll see you next time, okay? Bye now.